Hello guys, this is Dior here. This is an introductory video for those who are new to firearms and new to prepping. I'm going to be going over two of the most important basic firearms that any new firearms owner could possibly look at getting. A lot of this is solely based on my opinion. It might be some that might disagree, but like I said, this is my opinion. Okay, so we're going to start out with our 12 gauge shotguns. Specifically, the pump action shotgun variety. And I'm not talking about, like I said, I'm not talking about semi-autos, and I'm not talking about break barrels or single shot or double barrel. I'm specifically talking about the pump action shotgun. You want to get yourself a cheap yet reliable pump action shotgun. So right here we've got two different versions. We've got the Winchesters up above, and then we got Mossbergs down below. So these are going to be some of your, like I said, your more budget-friendly shotguns. This is the Winchester Ranger Model 120. I've managed to pick up one of these guns. Actually, this gun right here belongs to me, and this other one belongs to my dad. But I picked this gun up, used at a pawn shop for $187 and I believe 25 cents about 5 years ago. I might have spent a little bit too much money on it at the time, but because back then I was a little bit more naive, didn't know a whole lot about guns. I'm going to tell you right now, these guns, like the Winchester Ranger specifically, do not spend more than $220 on this gun. If you find this gun in pristine condition, it is only worth a maximum of $220. If somebody's trying to sell it to you for more than that, they're trying to pull a fast one, okay? Like I said, 220 is the maximum. Honestly, the condition I got that gun, I probably should have spent closer to 160. These guns are relatively cheap. They're abundant, especially at the pawn shops and gun shows. They're, like I said, there's approximately about 3,000 of these are made. These are the O'Connell box version of the Winchester Defender series. The reason why these are cheap, not only because of that, but also because Winchester as a company doesn't exist anymore. They've gone bankrupt. They've defunct. They've been bought and sold many times. Actually, I believe at the time that these were made, they were owned by Browning. But yeah, like I said, these are relatively cheap guns. As you can see, we got a couple different versions of this gun. This gun right here specifically has a vented barrel with a single forward bead sight, no rear sights. And I added a tube magazine extension to it, so it'll hold 2 more additional rounds than this gun. This gun right here, as you can see, does not have a vented barrel, but it has both a forward and a rear fiber optic sights. So these are good starting guns. Another gun you can look at possibly getting for a budget-friendly shotgun is a New England Firearms H&R model, 12 gauge pump action shotgun. I've actually, believe it or not, I've seen one of those guns going for about 160 bucks. I almost picked one up, but decided not to. But those guns, from what I understand, are also really, really reliable. If you want to get a little bit more expensive, a little bit, I mean, not crazy expensive. These are still moderately, like I said, moderately priced guns. Actually, this is probably for Mossberg, this right here is the cheapest Mossberg you could possibly own for Mossberg pump action shotgun. This is the specifically the Maverick 88. When I bought this gun, did not come in the pistol grip configuration. It actually had a full synthetic buttstock, just like this 500 here. I ended up adding that later on. I just want to give you guys a little bit of an advice, especially if you're new to guns. I'm telling you right now, get the 12 gauge. I understand it's got a lot of kick, but here's the thing: 12 gauge is relatively easy. That, like I said, it's a really common caliber of shotgun shell. It's actually more common than 20. And if we were to go into a dire situation where you had to scavenge for shotgun shells, you could get shotgun shells from a police station or from a military installation, because military and law enforcement use 12 gauge. The other thing too that I also want to stress: do not add a pistol grip to your shotgun. Do not, unless you plan on having a folding buttstock or one of those combination buttstock pistol grips in the AR-15 configuration. Reason being is because these guns got a lot of kick, and it puts a lot of strain on your hands and your wrists. Even with the full synthetic buttstock, there's still a lot of kick. You might end up having some bruising on your upper arm or shoulder. If you do, like I said, it's mostly because you're probably holding the gun wrong, but you want to have that thing tied up against your shoulder. We'll discuss more about that in another video. Here's something you can buy to help remedy that. If, like you said, you think recoil is going to be a concern, you can get yourself one of these. This is a little recoil reducing pad. This one specifically is called a limb saver. That's the name brand of it, but that's all it is. It's a recoil reducing pad. It's got some cushioning to it. You just slip that onto the end of your buttstock. It'll fit on any standard shotgun buttstock and any standard rifle buttstock too. So, yeah. I wouldn't get too much into adding too many bells or whistles or accessories to your guns. I would just, like I said, like I said, you're more welcome to if you want to. You're more welcome to go with something a little bit more expensive than what I've just presented here. Go with a Remington or a Browning if you want to. But like I said, at the end of the day, your budget basically decides for you what you can and cannot do. I would just suggest going with a cheap gun, cheap, reliable gun. So that way you understand the basics of how the gun functions. That way you get proficient with the gun. You know how to clean it, maintain it, and then you might consider either upgrading that gun or going with a little bit more expensive gun. Like I said, just try to stay away from the accessories. I know this Mossberg right here, I know it's, like I said, it looks really, really well decked out, but what you see on this gun is how I bought it. The only thing I added to it was this shell holster bandolier style sling. This gun already came with a rear ghost ring iron sights. See if we can get a better view of that. And forward iron sights here, and the liberal feared barrel shroud. Like I said, I didn't really add anything to it. The only thing I might, that I would suggest to anybody who owns a shotgun or is planning on getting a shotgun, I would suggest getting a light. Get a light mounted to your shotgun, a flashlight. I would not suggest mounting it to your foregrip. I would suggest mounting it somewhere right here, just forward of your foregrip, on the barrel or on the magazine, magazine, in a fixed location. You don't want that here because this is a moving part. You want it in a fixed location. It's not going to interfere with an integral part of your shotgun. Let's see. The last thing I can think of right now before we move on to the next weapon is consider getting yourself one of these. This is called a bandolier. It's specifically a holster, shell holster, meant to hold shotgun shells. Of course, they also have them. They also have versions that are made, to hold rifle rounds as well. You can adjust this to however you like. Have it set up so that way you can wear it as a belt around your waist. That's the way I've got this one set up. Or you can have it set up so that you can sling it around your shoulder, and wear it, across your shoulder and chest like you're like some kind of a badass out of a action movie like Rambo or something. But like I said, it's all up to personal preference. All right. So after you got your shotgun, the other weapons that I can think of that's just as important would be your handguns. Handgun or revolver depends on, like I said, again, depends on personal preference. Unfortunately, I don't have a revolver up here. All I've got is some automatic handguns. But one of the things I want to stress to you about getting when you have a handgun or a revolver, whatever, is you want to invest money in some additional magazines, and then you want to invest money in a decent holster system. Okay? So, like having a bandolier for your shotgun shells, you want to have some magazines in reserve. You never know, you might run across a situation. It doesn't have to be WRL, it doesn't have to be SHTF, it could be home defense, it could be personal defense. You could potentially run into a situation, not likely, but you could potentially run into a situation where you're going to need every single magazine, okay? It's just nice to have that little assurance that you got some extra magazines in reserve, okay? Now, let's discuss specifically the two handguns I have up here on the table. This is the more of your budget-friendly option in terms of handguns. This is the High Point model JHP 45 caliber. Really cheap, but really reliable handgun. I've had very few problems with it. I've only had, out of the thousands of rounds I've fired out of it, probably had only like 2 stovepipe jams. And I'm going to be honest with you, stovepipe jam is really, really, really easy to clear. All it is a shell casing that doesn't fully eject. It gets stuck right here, sticking out of your ejection port. All you do is brush your hand across it to push it out. And there you go. You've cleared your weapon. Usually, after that, the slide will rack forward and basically put a new round in your chamber. But that's about all I've had with this gun. Other than that, it's been a really good gun. The reason why I went with 45 for this one It's because at the time I bought it, we were going through the ammo shortage. 9mm was really, really hard to find, if you remember. So that's part of the reason why we went with 45. And also, as it turns out, 45, at least for the high point, it was actually the most reliable model of gun. The 45 JHP, most reliable of all the high points. From what I understand, very few complaints. I think my only complaint specifically about this high point is that it is a relatively large gun, and it holds, literally, it is only a 9+1 gun. It is unfortunately designed to be a California compliant gun. So it comes with these freaking big honking single stack 9-round magazines, but like I said, it can't hold much more than that. Sure, they got aftermarket mags, but from what I understand, they're not that good. So, but that's one of the, like I said, it's one of your options you have. The other one I got out here is a little bit more expensive. Yeah, I know it's not a Glock or anything, but this is a Springfield. This is for if you got a little bit more money to spend than just on a high point, but not too much more money. Springfield XD Mod 2 subcompact pistol. This is also 45 cal. The reason why, like I said, the reason why I'm going with 45 here, it just doesn't make sense to have two different calibers of ammo. You know, two different calibers of guns, and I have to stock two different calibers of ammo. So, yeah, 45. The nice thing about this gun, it is significantly smaller. I've got several different magazines. The magazine I just got done ejecting is a 13-rounder. If I put this 9-round magazine in, now it's got a little bit slimmer profile, but it's got the same capacity as this high point. In fact, you lay the two on top of each other. Look at that. Both guns hold the same amount of ammo, exactly the same amount of ammo right now as we're speaking. Yeah, this gun's significantly thinner. This is my concealed carry gun. Now, like I said, there's drawbacks to having 45 versus having 40 cal 9mm. I mean, obviously, the one drawback that most people can think of, and I can think of right now off the top of my head, is that it's obvious. You can't fit as many bullets in this magazine as you could with a magazine of equal size that is chambered in 9mm with 40 cal. You could fit probably about double the amount of bullets in this magazine as you could if it was 9mm. So that's one advantage of having a smaller caliber. The other thing, too, that other people have said is that these rounds ricochet, which I'm not too sure on that one, but I do know they do have a slower muzzle velocity because it's a bigger bullet, so it's requiring a little bit more force to push. But other than that, yeah, like I said, if you're going to get yourself, like I said, if you're going to get yourself a handgun or if you're going to get yourself a revolver, invest in extra magazines. If you're getting a revolver, obviously invest in getting some speed loaders, okay? Okay, bonus weapons, okay? So, to cover for you AR fanboys out there, okay, we got two AR-15 rifles. Like I said, I would not consider moving on to the rifle category until you have purchased your shotguns and your handguns. Like I said, the rifle is probably the last thing I would consider. Not because I don't like the rifle, it's just because of the price point of the rifle. The rifle is really expensive for a lot of the things that the shotgun can do. In most cases, the shotgun can take the place of the rifle. In fact, the shotgun in the right circumstances and, like I said, in right hands are actually a lot more devastating, a lot more deadly than an AR-15. And, like I said, I'm not knocking on AR-15s, but with the shotgun, you've got different kinds of ammo available for them. You've got your double-aught buckshot, your triple-aught buckshot, your slugs, your bird shots, and then you got some of your exotic rounds like your flechettes, your armor-piercing rounds, your dragon's breath, your buck and ball. Like I said, I could keep going and going and going, but like I said, this video is already getting pretty long. But this is the reason, like I said, the ARs, like I said, specifically the reason why I've got these ARs out here is, like I said, they are the cheaper, like I said, they are more popular. They are the more popular of the rifles, and they are the cheapest. Like I said, there's good reason. Like I said, they're cheaper. Most of these parts between the AR are interchangeable between the M16 and the M4, minus the lower receiver. But these guns will share the same magazines. They share the same barrels. They share the same ammunition. They both fire 5.56 223. So, like I said, it's another reason why you want to go with AR. Not saying that AK-47s are bad, and not saying that Scarls or any of the other rifles are bad either. It's just these price point, these are going to be cheaper. The problem, though, is that while your shotguns are running anywhere from like $160 at the low point to say about $600-700, these guns are typically starting at about $500, and they can easily go up to about $3,000 a piece. And these are the AR-15s I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about the Scarls. The Scarls are about $2,000 starting price. So this Bushmaster here, this was $700 for initial purchase price. This Eagle Arms, which is a Armalite clone, that was $500 for initial purchase price. I put probably about, I want to say probably about $550 worth of parts and accessories on here on this Bushmaster. I'll eventually end up doing the same with this one too, but right now I don't have the money to upgrade both. Again, just like the shotguns, I would avoid trying to put a whole bunch of accessories on it. I would actually, like I said, I would learn to shoot it as it is, get the basics, understand it. But like I said, these guns are going to be a lot more expensive. Like I said, you can go crazy with these things. I've already got an M9 utility bayonet for the Bushmaster and a flashlight. Which, like I said, flashlight is definitely something I would consider. Like I said, I would advise somebody consider getting on their, like I said, both their rifle and their shotgun. But first and foremost, before you consider doing anything extra to these things, get some extra magazines for your rifles. Just like your handguns and just like the bandolier for your shotguns, get some additional magazines. You want to have at a minimum of at least 6 additional magazines plus one that goes inside your rifle at all times. 6 additional magazines. Okay? Me, I've got more than 6. More than 6 for both of these guns. The other thing too, some people say I would have, advise to have at least 1,000 rounds of ammo for starting ammo for your guns that you keep in reserve. Not me. I would actually advise keeping a lot more than that. I would advise at a minimum, bare minimum, 2,000 rounds of ammunition per firearm. That includes your shotguns, that includes your handguns and your rifles. More than 2,000 rounds per gun. Okay. After you got all that settled, then you can start moving on to some accessories, some goodies. Like, I don't know, like if you want a red dot sight or an ACOG scope instead of going with the, like I said, I like to run with the factory irons. But like I said, you can do that. The other upgrade I've added to this gun too is the nickel boron plated bolt carrier, and also nickel boron plated hammer as well. That wasn't really meant for aesthetics. It's more or less for reliability purposes. Another weapon I'm going to bring up, another weapons platform, which is pretty much goes along the lines of rifle, but it's a different kind of rifle. It's just unfortunate I just don't have one yet. I would also suggest picking up a scoped rifle. This, like I said, these rifles right here are more or less for your urban combat, close quarters situation, firefights, type of rifles. A scoped rifle I'm talking about is meant to take out targets from long distances, and it may not necessarily have to be a hostile target or anything like that. You could be taking out game or something like that. I would suggest like a hunting caliber of at least a Winchester 308 or bigger. But yeah, like I said, scope variety. But like I said, your most important guns are going to be your shotguns and your handguns. Your handguns for obvious reasons, because you're going to need a sidearm to have on you at all times. The point of having a sidearm is if in case you are away from your main weapons, such as your shotguns and your rifles, this will at least help you, give you a chance to get back to your weapon if you find yourself in the middle of a firefight. But, like I said, these situations I'm talking about, these are all hypothetical. But, yeah, so this is my video. These are my thoughts. Like I said, you guys might have differing opinions. If you guys have anything else to add, feel free to comment. But I think this is all I have to say. I'm out.